What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. In this video, we're going over my running back projections for 2023. This is a little peek here at it's my debut of my 2023 projections. I just finished them last weekend. I got them up on the site. We're going to hop into a screen share here, and I'm going to show you guys where I came out with the running back rankings. And I just want to stress at the beginning of the show here, these are preliminary projections. I need to sit with these a little bit yet and tinker and get these kind of dialed in, but I'm pretty happy with where they are at right now. I did do a quarterback video last night, so if you guys want to check that out, that's already good to go. Tomorrow night I'll do wide receivers. The other night, the next night I'll do tight end. So we're just kind of going through here. But there's a link in the description. I'm calling it the 2023 Fantasy Football Playbook. And if you go into the Fantasy Fellowship, it's free this year, by the way. So go check it out for sure. We're just going to click into the running backs projections by position. We'll look at the running backs here. And yeah, I mostly play full PPR. So there is half PPR tab and a standard tab here if that's what you're into. But either way, my main focus is full PPR. So I'll kind of just get the top. Let's just get the top 12 running backs on the screen here for you guys. And my RB1, Austin Eckler, he came out last year. I believe he was the RB1 last year. Let's actually pull up the numbers from last year, just kind of compare some things. The Chargers offense is going to be even better. It wasn't very good last year, to be honest with you. They had a lot of injuries at the receiver position. Keenan Allen missed time. Mike Williams missed time. Justin Herbert playing with cracked ribs. You also had some of the starting offensive line pieces in and out. But last year, Austin Eckler, RB1, I have him running it up again. He scored 18 touchdowns last year, and I have him at 16. So maybe I shouldn't have him as my RB overall one, but either way, he is a top one, top two running back in fantasy football this year. I expect the Chargers offense to improve in 2023. Number two, Christian McCaffrey, who on a per-game basis was pretty damn good last year. He did score 20.6. Maybe there was a little bit of, just a build-up there when he got to his new team in San Francisco. Also played on a shitty team in Carolina for like 6 games. So McCaffrey could have easily been the RB1. But with McCaffrey, you're getting a receiver at running back. We know that. Hopefully he can rack in the rushing touchdowns and rack up the rushing attempts and yards. But these are your first 2 running backs taken in fantasy drafts right now. You could make a case for Bijan Robinson, but we'll get to him in a second. I have Saquon Barkley coming in at number 3. And very similar to the Chargers, I'm expecting the Giants offense to be better than it was last year. They had a really nice year with Brian Dable and Daniel Jones, but I expect improvement this year. They should have a little bit better offensive line. You also have Daniel Jones. You have new tight end Darren Waller. You have some added receiving weapons. It's going to be a better offense, and they might even have more points to be scored in that offense. And it kind of takes the weight off Saquon's shoulders a little bit. He doesn't have to carry it all himself. So I like Saquon Barkley. He's more of a second-round target for me. But I do think he's a top 5 running back in 2023. And then number 4 is my first one that's kind of like, oh, interesting. It's Ramondre Stevenson. Last year, Stevenson goes in and he scores as the RB8 in full PPR. He gets 69 catches, 421 yards, and 1 touchdown. He only scored 6 touchdowns last year. I think that's a number he could easily beat in 2023. I do not really care for the running back depth in New England. They brought in James Robinson, who's he's fine, but he's still, a year removed from an Achilles injury. And then they got some young guys. They got, Kevin Harris. They have Pierre Strong. I think Ty Montgomery's there. It's just a lackluster room. And now that Damian Harris is gone, Ramondre has potential to add more carries to his game. So I have him rushing for 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. I actually took his receiving numbers down a little bit, but still coming in as an RB5 for me in full PPR. I think it changes greatly, though, if you look at his half PPR and standard ranking. But to me, Ramondre Stevenson, one of my favorite values if you're drafting in best ball leagues right now. I love 3rd round Ramondre Stevenson. There's Bijan Robinson at number 5 here. I like Bijan a lot. I have him contending for the league lead in rushing. Like, he's going to compete for the rushing title right away in Atlanta. I mean, Tyler freaking Algier ran for 1,000 yards last year in that offense. So what can Bijan do is an exciting question. Now, for my rankings, I'm probably going to have Bijan Robinson up here as my RB3. I'm not taking him over Eckler or Christian McCaffrey, but he'll be there for my running back rankings. And sky's the limit for Bijan. It really depends on how active he's going to be as a receiver. For his true PPR value, that's what's going to keep him, from top one, top two, top three finish. And they still have Cordero Patterson. They still have Tyler Algier. It's an interesting offense. They're not going to throw the ball a ton. So I kind of have him suppressed a little bit because of his lack of volume as a receiver. He's kind of the same as Josh Jacobs to me. I think that's a good comp for him, where Jacobs last year, he balled the hell out, RB3. That's kind of the ceiling, I think, for a guy like Bijan Robinson in his rookie season. But either way, I love Bijan. Speaking of Josh Jacobs, there he is at RB6. I have him regressing a little bit in yards and touchdowns and receptions, but the dude's still going to get fed. It's a really good offense for running backs. They do not have any competition behind him as a running back too. And I expect Jimmy Garoppolo to bring some stability to that offense. Derek Carr was bad last year, so if Jimmy Garoppolo can play just a little bit better than Derek Carr, who knows? Josh Jacobs can repeat with a top 5 finish. Coming in at number 7 is Tony Pollard. I have him going for almost 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, 45 receptions, 400 receiving yards, and 2 TDs through the air. Got him down for 276 PPR points. That would have put him like RB7 last year. He scored 248 points. I have him improving upon that last year. I know he's got the injury that he's recovering from, but it sounds like it's going pretty well. And they did not do a damn thing to threaten his touches and his status as the RB1. They let Zeke go. They signed Ronald goddamn Jones, and they drafted Deuce Vaughn. That's fine. Malik Davis is there. Like, there's just not a lot there as the RB2. So I expect Pollard to be fed, and it should be an exciting Dallas offense. Now, I have Jonathan Taylor at number 8. Jonathan Taylor, I might be increased in terms of rankings. I'm probably moving Jonathan Taylor up over Pollard, over Jacobs, maybe even over Ramondre, because in order to draft him, he's a great round 2 pick. I think his floor is running back 8. And the one true question with Jonathan Taylor is, how many receptions will he have? We have a history of the Shane Steichen going back to the Eagles last year. He didn't really throw the ball to the running backs a lot. A lot of that is Jalen Hurts. Now we do have Shane Steichen, being a Chargers coach not too long ago, and he threw the ball a lot to Austin Eckler. So it's difficult to say how many receptions Jonathan Taylor will have, but that stat is ultimately going to be what makes or break him for a top 5 running back season. With Anthony Richardson, I'm not sure if he's going to be a guy that throws a lot to the position. I'm hopeful and I'm excited about Jonathan Taylor. He's a really fine running back 2, or running back 1, but you can get him in round 2 sometimes in fantasy drafts this year. So I like Jonathan Taylor. I'm a little bit lower on my rankings, but this is more of a reflection of his floor, because the dude could lead the league in rushing yards. He could lead the league in rushing touchdowns, but it's that PPR business that sometimes lowers these guys. So guys like Bijan, Josh Jacobs, and Jonathan Taylor, even Nick Chubb, these guys are some of the best running backs in the league. They just don't get a ton of passing volume. And that's really all I need to say about Nick Chubb. The dude's going to compete for the rushing title this year. And I do think that there's a chance he leads the league in touchdowns. And they didn't bring back Kareem Hunt. There's a chance that he gets more receiving work this year too. So I think Nick Chubb, end of round 2, round 3, fantastic pick. I really like him as a running back this season, with no really true number 2 in the way. Coming in at number 10 is rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. I do not have him running the ball a ton. I think I gave him 125 rushing attempts, which was more than DeAndre Swift last year. So who knows? If they decide to give him the ball, 10, 12 times a game on the ground, sky's the limit, because we know he's going to get targets. And basically, I gave him 68 targets, which comes out to what? Maybe that's roughly 4 catches per game, which is not a lot. Like, I could see him blowing these numbers out of the water. So in round 3, I really, really like Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's definitely a PPR kind of player where you want these big. You see 68, it sticks out amongst the Henrys and the Chubbs and the Jonathan Taylors, because he's going to have a safe floor every week. So I'm all in on Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to be a top 10, top 12 running back right away for the Lions. Derrick Henry coming in at number 11. Really, the only knock on them is the Titans probably not going to be very good, not going to be winning a lot of games. And you do have the potential of Will Levis starting at some point here. He's another year older. Titans not very good. Arrow pointing down. I don't want to spend a high draft pick on him. I suppose round 3. If the advantage looks really good if you can put him as your running back 2. say you get say you get Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey and you find a way to get Derrick Henry as your RB2, that looks really good. So I'm into Henry. I'm not in love with Henry. And then at number 12 here, Najee Harris. This is just a volume kind of play. Last year he still got a ton of volume. Ended up being RB14. I do expect, kind of like the Chargers, kind of like the Giants, I'm expecting the Steelers' offense to be better, more efficient this year. They improved the offensive line. Year two, Kenny Pickett, just more continuity in that offense. I expect Najee to look a little bit better than he did last year and maybe return to his rookie form in terms of numbers. But let's keep it moving. Let's look at my running back twos. And this is tough, man. It's really hard to do these projections, but I got Breece Hall up here at RB13. Now, I do think Breece Hall, he's one of the best running backs in the league. In a dynasty league, he's, after Bijan, he might be the next guy. But for this year, there's a chance that the Jets kind of ease him back in the month of September. He's coming off a pretty serious knee injury, an ACL. Luckily, though, it wasn't the ACL, MCL that we've seen some of the other running backs in the league have to go through, like Dobbins or Javonte. But Breece Hall, it sounds like he's recovering very, very strongly. And just temper your expectations, I think, for September. But who knows? By October, we could all be like, damn, I wish I drafted Breece Hall in the third round or wherever it was. And he just blows us everything out of the water. He's just at that perfect age where he can bounce back from an ACL, no problem. So, again, by all means, it sounds like Breece Hall is recovering very, very well and very quickly. So Breece Hall with the Jets offense, I don't need to say much. We're excited about the Jets offense. Great defense. They're going to run the ball. Aaron Rodgers as a passer, he loves to target his running back. So to me, this is kind of a Breece Hall floor projection. I think he's going to look great as your running back too, on draft day. But if you need him as your RB1, he can totally do it. Number 14 is J.K. Dobbins. Super excited about J.K. Dobbins. I was not high on him last year because I don't like to draft. I technically don't like to draft running backs coming off of knee injuries. Breece Hall, a little bit different of a case just because talent, age, opportunity, everything's aligning and it sounds like it's all going very well. But last year, Dobbins had the multi-ligament tear. All this writing on the wall was that he was not healthy. There was video clips of him limping and hobbling on carries throughout last year. But this is his year for first full off season healthy. And I think we're going to see the best of J.K. Dobbins. I easily expect him to put up career numbers in attempts, yards, touchdowns, and kind of like the Jonathan Taylors and some of the other guys, his ultimate bottom denominator is going to be how involved is he as a passer, as a receiver. So I don't have him highly involved. That's why he's kind of RB14. But there's a small chance where J.K. Dobbins leads the league in rushing yards this year. I love the Ravens offense. He's going to be their bell cow. So he's a fantastic RB2. Dameon Pierce, my RB15. I expect him to come back with full force. I like the Texans offense. It should be better than last year. The defense should be better too. So you might get more opportunities for Dameon Pierce. They did bring in Devin Singletary, but I'm not super scared about Devin Singletary. I think he's more of just like a third down kind of guy, which Pierce did, play enough on third downs last year. But this is pretty much where like Singletary equals Devin Singletary equals Rex Burkhead from last year. So I like Pierce, a strong RB2. What's going on, Micah? Thanks for hanging out. So Travis Etienne, I have him as a running back too. Last year, if you look at his numbers, he did come in as RB17. But let's see, he ended up with 209 fantasy points. The dude didn't catch any passes as a receiver last year, which was really interesting, right? But 206 fantasy points last year. I have him improving. I have him at 230. But the thing to remember is when you're doing projections, I'm not projecting injuries. So like everyone's involved in here. So as much as I like Travis Etienne, I think he looks better on your roster as a running back 2 than he does as a running back 1. So I like Etienne a lot. I'm slightly pumping the brakes because I want to see what happens with Tank Bigsby, because I think they're pretty excited to have him. And he's a guy that, if you remember at the beginning of the year, like they were using James Robinson a lot early, and they kind of left Travis Etienne get his feet underneath him. And if they give short yardage and goal line work to Travis or to Tank Bigsby, that could be something to keep an eye on. But I like Etienne, but to me, he's more of an RB2. But you never know. He's a third round running back. I like him a lot. You want a piece of the Jags offense, but that's just where my projections fell. And again, if you missed the beginning of the video, I just finished projections last week. I need to sit with these yet, and I'm going to be tinkering throughout the offseason. So I might be willing to adjust some things a little bit more. But either way, I have him improving on his game from last year. But I'm slightly concerned about the Tank Bigsby situation, and also who knows, maybe they have to throw the ball a little bit more this year, which could lead, I guess, to more PPR points. Let me see what we got here. I hope the new offense for the Ravens can make Dobbins. I would hope so. I mean, they don't really have. I mean, they have Gus Edwards there. I'm still not sold on Gus Edwards being a big part of the offense, but who knows? Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, I think he can turn Lamar into a guy that targets the running backs a little bit more than he has in the past. Let's see. Also interested in what you think of Charbonnet Ken Walker split. What tier do you think the share leaves each? So I have Kenneth Walker at RB 18, and let me see where Charbonnet is. Charbonnet is down here. He's a guy that you're going to want probably as your RB 3-4, some guy on your bench here. But I kind of have it as like a 2/3 split for Kenneth Walker. I think they're going to want to make sure he stays healthy. I still love Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to be a fine running back too for fantasy purposes. And the dude still was one of the best running backs in the league last year. Like I think people are kind of overdoing it with Kenneth Walker. Like he falls into the 5th round of fantasy drafts right now on best ball leagues. And it's just kind of crazy to me because he's still going to get 15 carries a game minimum. So I think he's in for a good season. And really, it's the number one thing with running backs in the PPR game is how many passes do they catch? Maybe they put, Charbonnet in there a little bit more on passing downs. Not sure yet, but I still have Kenneth Walker here. Aaron Jones as well. We kind of skipped over him. So with Henry, I don't know if you missed it, but I expressed my concerns. The Titans are not going to be a great team this year. You have Derrick Henry entering age 30, or maybe he just turned 29 this year, but there's just a lot of wear and tear. And for me, double-digit touchdowns have been automatic for him lately. I'm not excited about this Titans offense. I think he's still going to get a ton of volume, but part of me just wonders about age, health concern, the Titans offense in general. I think in where he's being drafted right now, he kind of falls at the end of round 2, round 3. I think I'm more like I would rather take your Travis Etienne there. I would rather take your Breece Halls. I'd rather take Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd rather take guys with, I think, a little bit more ceiling than Derrick Henry. But the man was still amazing last year. Let's see. So these are my projections for the season for redraft. So I haven't I haven't put out my rankings yet. Even though these are projections, Ron and Rabe, like my rankings, Travis Etienne's gonna be higher in my rankings because where it costs to get him, you have to pay like a round 3 price tag to him. Whereas like Damian Pierce and J.K. Dobbins, these guys are more 5th and 6th round picks. So these are just my projections. I will be uploading some rankings, but I do have everything on the website if you guys want to take a peek at it. I do have Dynasty rankings available too, Rom, which I probably need to do an update maybe at some point this week. I think I updated those a couple weeks ago. But I'm just kind of reviewing the running back rankings here or the projections. James Conner is a guy who's going to get a ton of volume. They didn't really bring in any running back behind him. I don't expect the Cardinals to be a very good team this year, and maybe James Conner kind of gets lost in that. But either way, their backup is Keontae Ingram. Like as long as Conner's healthy, he's going to get the ball a ton. I really like Miles Sanders this year to be a steady RB2. Not super excited about the Panthers offense. In Dynasty, I am, yes. But for this first year, I think you're going to have some growing pains with Bryce Young in the sketchy receiver room. Joe Mixon showing signs of decline. I think he's just a low-end RB2. Mixon scares me a little bit. The one good thing about Mixon that I can say is they lost Samaje Perine. They did not bring another running back in. So that is very encouraging to me. But last year, let's see, Mixon in a full PPR format, he was RB 11. But concerning numbers last year. I mean, 3.9 yards per carry, down to 210 total attempts, 800 yards. He's still a good passing guy, so I think that's going to support him. But who knows? Chase Brown's there, Trayvon Williams there. I think the Bengals might be trying to find a new way to run the ball. Maybe not with Mixon. Maybe they have a committee. I think he'll still get his PPR points, but I have him a little bit lower. Not excited about his running game. More excited about his receiving work. But I might be a little bit low here. Yeah, that's the big part too. Is the Bengals, and I don't think they added anyone significant this year. I can't recall. But I'm feeling like the Bengals are going to lean into Joe Burrow even more this year, and losing Samaje Perine was better than Joe Mixon at the end of last year, and I think that's going to be a huge loss for them. They did not replace him, and we'll see what happens. But I think leaning into the Bengals passing game is probably the way to go. Rashad White here, low end RB2. Alexander Madison, I am not sure what to do with this Vikings situation. The rumor is that they're going to release Dalvin Cook after June 1st, and that move saves them about $9 million or something on the books this year. So my projections right now reflect Alexander Madison getting, the bulk of the carries. I think I have him at 225 rushing attempts. Dalvin Cook, I still have him on the Vikings, but I have him projected for maybe 50 carries. Who knows what happens? But as soon as Dalvin Cook is released or traded or whatever, I'm probably going to move Alexander Madison up. And if you're drafting best ball leagues right now, I've seen him go as early as round 7. For the most part, he's a top 100 pick. I think 8th round is kind of the sweet spot for Alexander Madison right now. And Dalvin Cook is still being drafted in the 6th and 7th round, so he's still going to have some value. But I have to find a way to get Dalvin Cook projected. I just don't know how to do it yet because I don't know where he's gonna sign. A-Chain. What else do you think is the odd man out in that backfield? What sucks there, Ron, is the Dolphins are the number 1 rumored team to get Dalvin Cook, and it sucks because Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Devin A-Chain, it really hurts them. I think the future there would be Dalvin Cook and A-Chain, and I like Devin A-Chain. I don't think he is a 3-down do-it-all back. I think he's a really nice committee back. I think like his ceiling would maybe be like his career ceiling would be someone like an Aaron Jones type, where maybe he just has a huge touchdown year one year. But he's a dual threat guy. I don't know if he can shoulder a full load. So for A-Chain, I'm not expecting a huge year for him. I think next year would basically be his year to kind of take over the backfield if it does go that way. So odd man out in the backfield, it's probably A-Chain to start the year. Like as long as Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert are healthy, they're going to use those guys, and it's going to suck for fantasy. I honestly, I don't want Dalvin Cook to go to Miami because then it just makes it even messier. Ideally, personally, I want to see Dalvin Cook go to the Chiefs because I just think that would be disgusting to watch, but we'll see what happens. And so much can change. Yes. Dude, it changes like month to month, week to week. And that's what's cool about doing my projections. I have my document, and I'm kind of tinkering on it every day. On my website, I will be doing weekly updates, but it's basically like, what's the Wayne Gretzky quote? You got to skate to where the puck's going to be, or something like that. It's literally a moving target. I do like Cam Akers this year. I think he's a low-end RB2. And then look how high I have Samaje Perine. I think Samaje Perine's the guy to own in Denver over Javonte Williams. I talked about J.K. Dobbins and his multi-ligament knee issue. Same thing with Javonte Williams this year. So I can guarantee Javonte Williams is probably not going to be healthy at any point this season, because even at the start of the season, he's not going to be 100% healthy, and usually don't get healthier as the season goes on. So I'm leaning towards Samaje Perine being more valuable than Javonte Williams. Alvin Kamara, not sure what's going to happen with his suspension. I think I docked him 4 games or 6 games in between there, 4 to 6 games. I like James Cook. I don't know if they're going to give him the lion's share of the carries. They did bring in Damian Harris. They also brought in Latavius Murray. So that when they brought in Latavius Murray, I was like, because Damian Harris, whatever, fine, he's going to get carries. But they bring in another veteran bulldozer kind of back. Kind of worries me about James Cook's rushing ceiling. A.J. Dillon, just a fine running back 3 flex guy, emergency in case Aaron Jones gets hurt. David Montgomery, I might be a little bit low on Montgomery. I have him leading the Lions in carries and rushing yards and touchdowns this year. Not really being used as a passing weapon, but we saw what Jamal Williams did last year. The ceiling there is pretty significant. Let's see, Jamal Williams, 17 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. I don't expect David Montgomery to score 17 touchdowns, but hey, you never know. Either way, Montgomery can be a running back too. I like Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson this year as kind of low-end flex plays, fringe RB2s. I'm a little bit lower on Isaiah Pacheco. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that backfield. You have Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I might be too low on Pacheco at the moment. Again, I am low on Javonte Williams. The Eagles, notoriously running back by committee. I know Miles Sanders had a fantastic year. I don't know how they're going to split this backfield up between Swift, Rashad Penny. You also have Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. There's a lot of mouths to feed there, so I'm a little bit nervous on that. McKinnon, PPR guy. But that's pretty much it. As we get further down the list here, these guys are all running back threes. There's your Miami running backs, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Devin Achane. I have all three of those guys as RB4s, essentially, like guys you want on your bench, because as soon as something happens, if there's an injury to Raheem or Jeff Wilson, the other two probably become pretty relevant in fantasy. So that's kind of where we stand here. So as we get to the RB4s, these guys are all primary backups to starters here, but definitely some depth in here. I like Rashawn Johnson a lot. I think he's going to be the guy by the end of the year. Again, I mentioned Tank Bigsby, just potentially stealing some ETN numbers. Also, Damian Harris, Kendra Miller, a running back that I'm excited about when Alvin Kamara is going to be away. But that's pretty much it for me, guys. I'm going to get out of here on this one. A lot of fun doing these projections. Again, they're free this year. Go check them out. Just click on the 2023 playbook link, and you guys can get everything that I got in there for you. But again, my numbers are kind of moving numbers at the moment right now. They're preliminary. I want to kind of present them, sit with them. And the other part, too, I like about sharing my stuff is, I mean, I get a question, from Micah here. ETN seems way too low, and he kind of does. So like, I need to go back and I look at that and find ways to get some more fantasy points, because we all love ETN. I think, again, with my rankings don't exactly equal my projections, so ETN would be higher there. But either way, a lot of fun. Check out the 2023 playbook. I'm going to cover wide receivers tomorrow night, so hang out with us for that. And yeah, thank you guys for your time. Subscribe if you're new. Have a good one. Peace.